Have you heard about Mephibosheth? It's a question I recently asked several of our teammates at AdventHealth Ottawa. One of my favorite responses was from a clinician who said, "It sounds like some new brand of medication." Now, before you close the video thinking that we're about to launch into an infomercial on another hard-to-pronounce drug, let me assure you, you're in the right place for our commercial-free Take 5 devotional. Mephibosheth was the grandson of King Saul, and though he is mentioned only a few times in the Old Testament, his story is one of my favorites in the Bible. Now, many of us are probably familiar with the story of King Saul, the first king of Israel, and David, the shepherd boy that killed Goliath and ascended to be the king after Saul. For years, Saul tried to hunt down and kill David before Saul and his son Jonathan were killed in battle with the Philistines. It's here that Mephibosheth is mentioned for the first time. After the Philistines killed Saul and Jonathan, Mephibosheth's nurse picked him up to flee the city in case his life was in danger as well. Now, the Bible doesn't tell us if it was bad terrain, inclement weather, or running at night, but Mephibosheth's nurse dropped him during the escape, and the poor child was crippled and lame in both legs for the rest of his life. Now, years passed, and over this time, King David comes to full power. At the height of his power, King David addresses his court and asks, "Is there anyone still alive who was part of Saul's family?" Now, if you know the Old Testament, I am sure people quickly wondered if David was going to settle the old debts that he felt with Saul. If after so many years of being chased and threatened by him, was David going to take it out on Saul's family? Now, it's important for us to remember that in the Old Testament, most people viewed disabilities and deformities as the result of sin. In other words, they believed that the person deserved it, either for their actions or their ancestors' actions. So picture this man returning to Israel, having grown up in a land far from home, while probably being treated as if he deserved his injuries. Now, the Bible tells us that Mephibosheth enters the throne room and falls face down in deference to the king. In fact, the verse even states that Mephibosheth says, "What would you want with a dead dog like me?" Now, here is the beauty of the story. I believe that David looks down at this crippled man on the ground, looks at his face, looks at his eyes, his profile, hears his voice, sees his shape, and he doesn't see Mephibosheth. He sees in him Jonathan, Mephibosheth's father, Saul's son. Now, the Bible describes Jonathan and David as being closer than brothers, knit of the same soul, loved as family. So when David looks down, he doesn't see the crippled, broken foreigner. He sees someone he loves. David calls to Mephibosheth and says, "Get up. For the rest of your life you will live with me and eat at my table. All the lands that belong to your father will now be yours." 2 Samuel 9:11 says that David stated, "As for Mephibosheth, he shall eat at my table like one of the king's own sons." Now, there are two integral pieces to this story, I believe, in our lives today and in our work. First, I love the thought of my Heavenly Father looking down at me, a sinful, life-crippled mess, and seeing someone He loves, seeing in me His Son, Jesus. As for our work, I want you to take a look at our heart badge. This is our promise to our community, our colleagues, our patients and their families, that when we look at them, we see someone that we love. You may see your son, your daughter, your spouse, your parents or your grandparents, someone you love. I hope that every day, when you get a chance to clip on your heart badge, you remember the story of Mephibosheth. You remember God's love for you and our promise to our patients that when they come to AdventHealth, we will see them and care for them as someone that we love.